And welcome to Just for Today. I'm Lisa Kaye. As they say, trauma is a nightmare that comes while we're awake. Not only is it difficult to overcome trauma, but it also takes tremendous effort and perseverance to do so. Just for today, can we consider to be open to understanding that suffering can be transformed into power? Absolutely. Good morning, guys. Let me know you're out there, whether you're watching live or you come on later and watch. Wow, just for today, could we consider the things that we have gone through, the losses, the extreme traumas, that there is power, there is growth in those? Some of you have been able to do this yourself. Just for today, we're going to talk about it because not many folks have heard of this. And we're going to dive in this morning about this trauma. Trauma truly is a nightmare that we just were awake for, right? Not only is it difficult, it takes lots and lots of endurance and lots of support, right? So to grow in the midst of that, there's actually something that went on that it was studied, and we're going to talk about that this morning because I've been going through a training called intentional peer support, and there was a term that was used that I found that a lot of people had not heard, and I realized that I had not really dove in myself. Right? Good morning, Miss Erin and Deidre. Yeah, I had not really dug in myself, and it's called post-traumatic growth. PTG. If you've heard of it, great. If you haven't, hold on tight. We're just going to scratch the surface this morning around this. I'd heard of it. Had been part of some discussions around it, but I had never really dug into it. And during this training last week, we dug in around it, and my interest really piqued to know more and to see how I lined up with it. So let me know you're out there. And we're going to dive into this a little bit this morning. Transforming loss. Let me put that up there right quick. Transforming loss and trauma into growth. It can really happen. We call this thing post-traumatic growth, PTG. It's a theory that explains this kind of transformation following trauma. And it's very interesting. And I'm only going to scratch the surface this morning. And I hope that if you've experienced loss and trauma in your life and you feel stuck or you feel like you're not living your best life, you may find out that you've done a whole lot better than you thought. And just the little bit I knew, I was able to dive in and dig in. And I have to say that I was really, I think I could score high on the PTG assessment. So I'm going to give you that information as well, so you can do your own little assessment. Of course, you might not be a professional, but you can look at the questions and you can hold it up against your life to see how well you've done. Most of us are in recovery for many, many different things. And because of that, we suffer great loss. Because of that, we actually lost everything, or our life completely went upside down. I love the analogy that I read. It's like living out a nightmare. It's a nightmare that you're awake for. And believe me, most of us, as we sit and think about this morning, just a little bit, our loss and our traumas, that we would probably use that as an adjective to describe that. It's a nightmare. A nightmare. Terror, a night terror, right? Well, just for today, we're going to dive in this morning, and I hope that you will be encouraged to dive in a little bit deeper. Just for today is a slogan in the rooms, recovery rooms, and I'm paraphrasing, but the part that I took away from just for today was the part that talked about that we could see something, experience something, hear something that maybe, just maybe, if we could just hold on to it, try it, consider it, think about it, meditate on it, even if it's just for today, that it could add value to our recovery walk. We might not want to hold on to this concept or practice it or even think about it for a lifetime, but could we just for today? Because today's all we got, and it's going to be a hot one today. It's going to be a hot one. But welcome, guys. Let me know you're out there. All right, let's dive in this morning. Good morning, Miss Stephanie. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Good morning, Aaron Wells. Just for today. Yeah, so guys, have you been in that nightmare that you're awake for, that we call trauma? Have you thought about, through your trials and tribulations, through the losing everything, the turmoil that your life was in for so long because of the loss, because of the extreme trauma, have you sat and wondered like how you got to where you are today? Some of you, if you sit and think and ponder a minute, you'll see all these achievements that you've been able to do, the growth, right? Some of you may be questioning that you've grown at all. Well, just for today, I'm going to peek into a door called PTG, post-traumatic growth. If you've not dove into this, I encourage you to. There's a lot of information out there around it. There's actually an assessment. You can actually read through the assessment and kind of gauge where you think you might land. I know I did, and I was quite pleased of the progress that I have made, the growth that I was able to achieve through this. A lot of the studies that they've done, it was very a high percent of people who have endured extreme traumas, traumas around war, traumas around horrific deaths of people that they are very close to. We can go on and on of those traumas that we have in our world going on right now, that a very high percentage, it was like 90-something% of the folks that were studied in multiple studies showed that they experienced growth. Boy, there's hope in that, right? So if you're here this morning or watch later and you're currently going through something, or you've been through something pretty traumatic, experienced a great loss, could you consider just for today that there's hope, there's growth, that you can get through this? There's a lot of champions coming on this morning in our chat. There's Miss Kim Porter in the house. She's one of them as well. A lot of the folks in the chat right now know their personal stories. And I would say, based on what they have revealed to me and what I have seen of them, they have had tremendous growth, post-traumatic growth, right? So just for today, there's hope in this. And I want to just scratch the surface. We'll dive in a little bit deeper on Wednesday for the next level recovery. This group decided last Wednesday that they want to do it every Wednesday for some reason, but they did. They were a great group. So if you're interested and you haven't been invited or you haven't seen the post, just send me a message on this. And I will personally invite you to it. But it is a Zoom room, next level recovery group. And if you want to come get challenged, sit with this group of champions. And I promise you, you'll be challenged to do great things, to step it up in your recovery. Sometimes we got to do that to each other. And this group is a great group that can do that. All right, guys, let's move on. So, So while resilience may help to withstand the pain, right? A lot of folks say, hey, I'm resilient, right? Or you seem to be very resilient for what you've gone through, okay? It can help you withstand the trauma, withstand the pain to some extent. But the PTG, the post-traumatic growth, okay, allows us to grasp the knowledge of using the pain. So hear the difference: using the pain to change our lives for the better, using it to push, to motivate, inspire us to have a better life, not to just endure it. That's the resilience. But the post-traumatic growth pushes us to grow because of the pain, the suffering. It inspires us. It pushes us. So I can't take credit for this. I better give credit to where credit due. I can't say these names, so I'm just going to put it up. But it's developed by these psychologists, right here on my screen in the mid 1990s. So it hadn't been around that long, but it's been around for a little bit of time, right? So here is the folks that came up with this. It was developed. They also developed the assessment tool that many therapists, psychologists use today to work with people who have had post-traumatic syndrome, different diagnosis, or who are experiencing extreme distress due to loss, due to their traumas, right? So dive into this, right? Look it up, see what's all out there on it. It goes pretty deep. We're going to talk about it Wednesday. So you guys who come on Wednesday at 12:30, be ready to talk about your growth, not to talk about your woes, right? Not talk about in depth about going through the pains of your trauma and loss, but to briefly talk about your loss or trauma, but then go straight into the growth, because that's what we want to hear, is there's hope in that. There's hope in that. Where did that come from? What did it inspire you to do, right? Or change in your life? These psychologists, what I read, said that that people who endure psychological struggle, follow adversity, can often see positive growth afterwards. I know for me, part of my trauma is the tragic, horrific, unexpected, I can't even come up with the words anymore to describe it, death of my daughter and the other lives that it involved of my other children. So for me to hear, if I could have heard back then that, Lisa, you will grow in this, I'd have probably punched you. I would have probably hit you in your face. I don't know what I would have done, because that would have exploded my mind. But now I stand back and I see exactly where growth started, when it started, and how it happened. But it really helped me to understand where it came from, because I used to have a lot of survivor guilt. Like, why am I doing these things? Why am I trying to be happy? What's making me do this? I should be, gloom and doom. But for some reason, I continue to do things over the years that led me straight to where I'm sitting today. People develop new understandings of themselves, the world they live in, the kind of future they might have, and a better understanding of how to live life. To evaluate whether and to what extent someone has achieved growth from trauma, there's a self-report scale, right? So you sit with a therapist or a psychologist and you self-report. They ask a series of questions, whether it's verbal or written, and you just self-report. You just write it out. You pick the one that fits you, and they add these things up, right? So it looks for positive responses in 5 areas. So I want you to sit back and think about this morning, grab your coffee, whatever you got. Think about your own loss, your own traumas, and think about, have you been able to, even though all the things you've gone through, you have appreciation of life, embracing new opportunities, right? You've been able to move forward in your personal life or your professional life, right? Good morning, Chris. Glad to see you on. Love you too. Badass is in the house. Yep. Christopher is inviting everybody for Wednesday. We probably should have called it Badass Incorporated Next Level Recovery. Good morning, Roberta. Glad you're on. But guys, think about coming and meeting with us on Wednesday at 12:30. It is quite a lot of fun. These characters that come on with me are there live and in person. You get to see them in their own environments, and it's quite funny. Let's move on. Also, the relationships with others improve. Yeah, personal relationships increase. Just greater pleasure just being around people. There's new possibilities in life, a heightened sense of gratitude towards life altogether, or a personal strength, increased emotional strength and resilience. And finally, a spiritual change, greater spiritual connection. Through my personal traumas, I definitely really could relate to many of the experiences that I read about. and many of the learnings that different people wrote about within their own lives. And I gathered some of those that I could relate to that really spoke to me, the learnings that I now look back on and saw, right? And did see somewhat, but now I have a name for it: post traumatic growth. So, one of the learnings is you can't lose yourself. I learned that even if you lose everything, you need to do everything you can not to lose yourself. I have lost everything. Everything to me was my family. And for a period of time, I lost everybody: physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. In one way or the other, a period of time, I felt like I was on an island and my whole entire heart would never, ever be restored. But I never wanted to lose myself. So, one of the other learnings that I gravitated to was everything I thought I owned was an illusion. Just for today, if you don't hear anything else, hear this from my heart. Everything that I thought I had, material things, money, was an illusion, but I found out it was very unimportant. I realized then, and I realize now, that the only thing that matters in the world for me is people, my family, and how we treat each other. People who really supported me back in my trauma, they just connected. They didn't try to explain why God allowed my daughter to die that day and why all of my children were gone. Just allowed me to experience my pain with them by my side. Yeah, I really learned that everything I thought that really mattered in life was just an illusion. Just for today, if you still have your children, you still have your significant loved ones, you still have your parents, your whatever, those people that you connect with, you need to hug them and love them today. Because, yeah, life can happen just like that, right? So for me, I was able to sit back and see that even though I had many people that showed up just to be nosy, I still had a lot of folks, a good core, many folks that were sent there. They were my angels who just sat and let me be, right? The third learning that I had was there is no important reality other than the inner reality. The only important thing is how I feel about what is happening. It's not what happens that hurts people, but it's how they interpret it, right? I will never, ever have a life again. I will never, because of this tragedy, my life is over. It's the interpretation. It's the interpretation. Exactly. So that inner reality can really be pivotal about how we move and lean forward. The last one of the other things that I related to was that never lose hope. I just remember early on, even in my own recovery and from my trauma and my loss, that I wanted to do things to inspire hope in others not to give up, even when I didn't even understand it myself. Now I see my life before as a rise to this, right? From which became this horrific death of my daughter. I had to jump. I had to do something to climb out of this carnage that was all around me. I had to climb out of it. It was a leap of faith. And when I say that, I actually thought about this as I read through this material, that my leap of faith was the day that I'd had thoughts and talked about it, but my leap of faith was the day that I walked through the beautiful campus of Gardner-Webb University to enroll in college. Yeah. Life can give you a parachute, but that parachute will only appear if you jump. I love that quote that I took from this material that I was reading. I jumped and I was rescued by perfect strangers. That's how I saw my folks at Gardner Webb, the beautiful spirits that accepted me and ministered to me, to my spirit as I journey towards my degree. Hope is one of the few resources responsible for my peace in the present. Never lose hope. Another learning, I realized that there is no permanent me. Oh my gosh, this was amazing reading that I did. I've spent several, I don't know, I started on it last week and I finished it up last night. This me thing. There's no permanent me. I thought, what the heck does that mean? But here's some things that I took from it that I've applied to myself. So just for today, can you consider that there is no permanent you, just like there's no permanent me? Me is a process, a self-creating and self-sustaining process. Self-confidence and happiness are not given, but a habit. If you make self-confidence and happiness a habit, then even if you lose everything, like I did, you will know how to return to that habit. Well, as I look back, I really dug into my life before my trauma, and I started thinking about Lisa then. And I was able to see that confidence and happiness were things that I would think that I had a lot of, right? And I had made it a habit. I did things in my life to find that joy, that happiness that truly had been somewhat of a habit, right? I've always been a very outgoing person, even as a young person, and it carried on to my adult life. I always act a lot younger than I am. You'd think in my mind, I still think I'm 21, but my body's screaming, no, girl, you are not, because I'm 60. You better sit down. It did that this weekend when I was working in the yard, moving cinder blocks, and we won't even go into that. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling it today for sure. But that self-confidence, that happiness, pursuit of happiness, trying to build myself, do different things, had been a huge part of my life. So guys, just for today, are you building self-confidence? Are you building that habit of seeking out happiness, deepening your joy? You are in recovery. No matter where you are, you're responsible for this, for yourself. So here's your challenge today: that there is no permanent you, that it is always constantly building and growing, right? Are you building those things around your confidence and your happiness? These are the things that could sustain yourself, your recovery, your family during those traumatic lifetime things that happen to us, right? The next one is, or the last one is, hatred leads to a vicious cycle of destruction, whereas goodness leads to a vicious cycle of love. Boy, I had some hate in my heart, and sometimes it still rises up, and I have to settle that beast down. But I had a lot of hate for our judicial system. I had a lot of hate for my county's DSS system, for that whole social service. Every person who lied to me, entered my home to help, but was only there to gather information to gossip about, I hated them. I had nightmares about them. At every turn, they run my life. They were in my life, in my face, and not a lot of truth was ever told to me from the beginning to the end in my traumatic, seemed like forever part of my life. These systems represented this huge, ugly monster. Yeah, that that I felt very alone to have to defeat, to get justice done, to incorporate healing, and to start gathering my family back. That took some time, and I still fight it sometimes because I work in those systems now, helping other mothers and fathers as they walk through these big systems, right? I currently have one of my children that is in the judicial system, in prison. They'll be getting out very soon, couple weeks, and that has been a very, very hard road. And so I still find myself in situations where this huge emotion rises up. But goodness, on the other hand, breeds more goodness, which creates a beautiful circle of positive energy. So when I stopped hating and screaming in my own home and got out in the world and started walking with people and helping, trying to navigate these beast of a systems, I saw that this is where I personally could make a change to start my healing and to work with others and start their healing. We cannot change the past, accepting what happens to us, even if if there's unpleasant difficulties. So I really kind of see my life divided into before and after the trauma of losing everything. But I doubted myself all the time. I was worried about what people thought of my family, my children. When there is my life after, where I actually experienced post traumatic growth, right? Can you describe your post traumatic growth just for today? I challenge you this morning to think about it. Where has your growth been, right? You may consider it very small, but I challenge you, any growth during those losses and traumatic experiences are not very little. They're huge. They're huge. One of the things that I recognize that I had, a lot of you may disagree because some of you think I'm very high strung, but I did. Well, you should have seen me back in the day. I became calm and more self confident. I was more interested in the present because I lived in the past. Right after my trauma for a long time, for many years, I stayed stuck in that past, wishing I could go back in the past and be that young mother of those children, and redo things, right? Re experiencing them. I appreciate my strength, and my shortcomings no longer bother me. Well, sometimes they do, but not to bother me to the point where I just sit. I overestimated some of my relationships. Without regret or really guilt any longer, I broke off some relationships that had weighed me down for years. I remember having to do that because I realized that their walk with me was about convenience. It was about opportunity to walk through their communities or their circle of people and feel all knowing about what was going on in my life. And not only did they spread what was going on in my life, they added to or took away from my experience. And they continued coming back for more, like it was I don't know, a beast within them that they had to feed. And when I was able to break off of those relationships and saw them for what they were, it broke my heart, but it was very, very relieving. The main thing is that I discovered that a lot of people are good people who can really be trusted. I did make new friends over the years because of my trauma and loss. People that I may have never connected to before, I've connected to now. I am now convinced that life is beautiful and wonderful where at once I had thought it was dark and over. I experienced, I believe, a second birth, which was scary and painful, but I like the new me more and more. I love my new life. That leap of faith led me on a journey to a place I can use my trauma, my loss, my labels, and my journey on the family side of addiction. What the universe has for me will never miss me. Just for today, what's the universe got in store for you? What is it about your traumas, your losses, that you can start seeing your growth? If you're currently going through something, I hope that you can hear some of these things that could inspire hope, that there can be growth in the midst of some painful things, right? We see it, we hear it all the time on television as we now watch the Sandy Hook um, elementary children who were killed in that school massacre some years back. We now see those parents coming forth and seeing their growth, seeing the things that they began, the educational pieces, how they're giving back to their communities, how they have healed, right? And are continually to heal. Losing a child, you never completely heal, but there are certain bandages and certain medicine that we put on our wounds that helps us to walk taller, to see hope, and to build. We see it all the time. Just for today, I believe if you look hard enough, you'll see that you're one of those people possibly too. So consider some of these learnings that I've shared with you in some of these areas, and know that there's lots to be learned on the subject, just scratching the surface. So if you are interested, please look this up and read about it, apply it to your own things, right? And see where you feel like you land. If you feel like you need additional help, get it. If you feel empowered, share it. If you feel like there's some other work to be done, get on your feet. Get on your feet. Come join us Wednesday. Come join us Wednesday, and let's talk about that a little bit more. Where is our growth? What have we done to grow? Let's share with each other Wednesday as we come on at 12:30. Hope you'll join us. Let's see what you guys are saying, and then we got to hop off and get to work. All right. So Karen, so Stephanie is responding. So glad you did. I should have read that before, so I'm not really sure what you're responding to, but you're glad somebody did something. So thanks for the encouragement. Good morning, Karen. Good to see you. Darlene said good morning. Got vertigo again this morning. I'm so sorry. Darlene, I hope you feel better soon. Bless your heart. Stephanie says, tough stuff, difficult to navigate at best. Yeah, bless you on your way. Awesome. Roberta says, you're telling my story, Lisa. Yeah. You something else, Roberta. Liz says, thank you, Lisa, such wisdom. I don't know about that, but sometimes I have those moments. I'm able to let bad feelings go. Absolutely, Roberta. Absolutely. Guys, it's possible. It is so possible that we can transform our loss and our trauma into growth. So if you're one of those people who have, and you're in recovery, part of our recovery is giving our recovery away. So I challenge you this morning, if you can't come on Wednesday, find another avenue to share your growth. Don't just hold it. When you're ready, share it, give it away, let people know. We don't have to tell our story to the gruesome, right? I've never told my story, every inch of it, because it's too personal, it's too painful, as well as unless you are me, you won't walk away with the same experience. I tell just enough of my story that people can relate, and that's all we have to do. But what we're doing is sharing the growth, sharing the hope. Can you do that this morning? Can you just consider that you've grown and that it's worth sharing with others, right? I hope you will consider it just for today. All right. So I'm going to add, hopefully it comes through. Let's see if it will. Yeah. So if you haven't gotten a personal invite and you want to join us, you'll see in the chat Next Level Recovery, and you can come on and join us in a live Zoom group of a lot of folks that are coming from Just for Today. Some of our folks are coming from other groups that we have shared Just for Today videos in. And I was so thrilled to hear that. I don't always know how you guys find out about Just for Today and you're able to come in there, but please join us if you can. So if you are one of those folks who want to come and share with us, please come on. And each Wednesday at 12:30 for our live Zoom. The Zoom link will stay the same and all that good stuff will stay the same. You just come on and be a part of us. If you need help with that, just let me know. I'll make sure you get an invite and walk you through that, because technology can be hard sometimes. Took us forever, right? Well, guys, you have a great day. Stay cool. It's going to be a hot one. And if I don't see you Wednesday at 12:30, at 6:30, I hope in the morning for Just for Today, I hope I'll see you at 12:30 for our live Zoom group, Next Level Recovery. Come prepared to share, come prepared to be fed and laugh and have a great time with some amazing, funny, resilient recovery folks. Guys, I love you. I will See you later, and stay cool and know you can transform anything into your growth. You really can. Just for today, can you work on that? Can you think about it? Can you dig in deep, do some research on your own? I hope you can. I love you guys. See you Wednesday. Have a blessed day. Bye.